All right, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen here from Zenmultiverse, and I hope you're having a great day. So, The Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher just came out. We're gonna do a breakdown and review of this bad boy with my natural reaction to it. So, spoiler alert. So, you already know. Keep watching the video anyway, even if you're gonna get spoiled. But before that, drop a like and time to hit that intro.
This one is for the teacher who passed me the math test face down and didn't think I was going to become successful. This is for 9 times 9 equals 81.
You will never amount to anything. We shall see, brother.
Let's go!
All right, team. So this book is pretty good. I didn't really realize that it's a what if story in some kind of way, right? Because it's not labeled what if, right? But with the Watcher, I'm just gonna kind of give you the simplest breakdown. Basically, the other Watchers are tired of Uatu. They're tired of him interfering, and they sit him down, and they basically let him watch an alternate reality where Uatu didn't interfere with the coming of Galactus. Now, what I mean by that is Galactus came, but Uatu didn't shift things, right? Didn't give the Human Torch the ability to, not the ability, but basically put him on a mission to get the ultimate nullifier and things of that nature, thus enabling them to beat Galactus and him like going away, right? In this reality, it's a little bit more nitty gritty, but it starts off very 1966 Jack Kirby and Stan Lee-esque, right? Where the artwork is pretty good and amazing. Now, some people might get confused when they're reading this and say like, hey, why is Galactus so small, right? I thought he was like way bigger than that. Now, how he was portrayed in his first introduction was pretty much this size, right? Where he was gigantic, but not to the level where astronomically gigantic as he's portrayed right now in the current comic books, right? So when we see him, basically uh the Watchers, including Uatu's dad, are making it, they're seating him, right? He's chained, as you can see in this panel, all the way at the bottom, and they're making him watch the events of an alternate reality where he doesn't intervene. And what happens is they basically fight him as they normally would, and they're starting to lose. And Uatu's like, why are you making me watch this? They're no match for Galactus. And then the other Watchers are like, keep watching. So as they're battling, things start to get really bad, right? For the Fantastic Four. Uh, Even Galactus acknowledges Sue Storm, right? Because she's utilizing her powers, right? Her invisible powers, and he's like, who's doing this or what is doing this? And he says, oh, it's you, right? Very formidable, acknowledging her powers. And he says something of the sorts where, you know what, I'm gonna take out your eyes because you could only use your powers when you see. But he's not really implying that she needs her eyes in order to see, but she needs her eyes in order to see where she's gonna use her powers. So he takes out her eyes, literally like that. She's blind, right? Next, while this is going on, the Thing is fighting something called the Punisher. Now, the Punisher is really just a machine, not the Punisher that we see, right? Not the street-loving anti-hero, the Punisher, but a vehicle for it's a antibody type vehicle, right? And vehicle in the sense of like it's humanoid, right? 2 arms, 2 legs, but it only has one purpose, and that's to destroy or to punish what Galactus has sent them after. Along the lines of this, right? Or not along the lines, but while this is happening, Silver Surfer is going against Johnny Storm. Now, remember, Sue Storm, she's blind. Thing is trying to talk to her, and he's basically like kind of Sue's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm doing my best. And this Punisher ends up like really like mauling in the sense of like just ripping through the Thing to the point where you could actually see skin, right? From pieces of rock have ripped off, you could see the underlying skin, and it's kind of creepy but awesome at the same time. And then next we get Human Torch, right? Johnny Storm going against Silver Surfer, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have to. Basically, they're going through the battle, and he eventually says, "I have to use my Nova Blast," right? Uh, and Silver Surfer is like, "I've flown through supernovas before. There's nothing that you could do that could basically um, penetrate me or even beat me." And Johnny Storm says, "You know what? So then I'm gonna have to even burn brighter than that, right?" And he does. He does something a little bit past a supernova, which is pretty cool. We don't have a name for this, right? I think it's like supernova level 2. That's all I'm gonna say. And he ends up getting burned, right? Johnny Storm gets, because remember, he's resistant to the heat that he can go to at its max capacity, seemingly max capacity, but he goes beyond that, right? And so this is why we see him a little bit burnt. Just to give you one more little snip of a panel. Don't want to give too many panels, but just enough so that you guys can see. And then while this is going on, Mr. Fantastic is inside of the Baxter building trying to figure out a way to defeat Galactus, right? That's his goal. So he realizes that Galactus is utilizing a machine that's going to terraform the area so that he can utilize it to turn the planet into sustenance. So Mr. Fantastic is analyzing this, and he figures out that the technology that's being used is very vast and advanced, but at the same time, it comes from another world, right? That predates our universe. And he realizes that he needs to kind of reverse engineer it in a way so that it becomes poison. So he develops something that is very akin to the ultimate nullifier, but it's like a nullifying ray. And Uatu is watching this, right? And he's just like, turn this off, right? Because I think he's realizing that they are overcoming without his intervention. And what happens next is the the team the team basically go to Galactus, and they're like, "Galactus, my boy, you better stop, because if you don't stop, I'm going to use this on you." And Galactus is like, "There's no way that someone of your humans can gain the intellect needed in order to do X, Y, and Z that Reed was proposing." And he's like, "I'm not going to take the bluff," basically, Galactus is saying. And Reed is like, "All right." And he shoots him. And you know what happens? They defeat him. And Uatu's like, "What?" Remember, he's watching all this. They pin his eyes open so that he has to watch this, right? Hence the Watcher, right? And he's looking at them, and he's like, "So they didn't need my help?" And the other Watchers are like, especially his dad, are like, "No, they didn't. They would have defeated him without your intervention." But then Uatu's like, and he has a good point, he's like, "But look at them." Because Reed, while he was inside of the Baxter building, he was melting, right? Because it was being hard. The Baxter building, in conjunction with that technology, was being utilized in order to create sustenance. So it almost seemed like he was inside of a furnace, right? So he was melting. So he has a sustained kind of like melted look. And for Johnny Storm, he went past supernova and he's burned. And for Sue Storm, she no longer has access to her eyes. And for Ben Grimm, he has pieces of his skin that are literally off him, and pieces of his rock skin, right, are off, and you can see the under layers of that, right? So they've all been beaten, battered, and handicapped, right, in a lot of ways. So Uatu's like, "Yeah, they beat him, but like, look at them." And then the other Watchers, including his dad, are like, "Yeah, but there's more though." So then we get another kind of like panel, right, which is pretty cool. I'm really digging this. We get another panel. I'm not going to show you all panels because I just want to be careful of that. But we get this panel right here that you see, and they're being congratulated. And one of the things that Reed is saying is that because Galactus came, we were able to create X, Y, and Z, right? This nullifier ray. He said it basically harnessed access from energies, right? In order to basically create poison for Galactus. But they're also able to use this to create sustainable energy and other natural resources that can help the planet. And the way the book starts to end is that things are going really well. Yes, they're handicapped. Sue is blind. Johnny Storm was burned, and Rita Richards is melted, and Thing is, there's a lot of rock chips that are gone, and you can see the underlaying of his skins. But the world is a better place, and Uatu is like, turn it off, because he's realizing that his intervention wasn't really needed. And if he did not intervene, not only would things they have beaten Galactus, but the world would have been better. Which is pretty funky and amazing, right? It's a big twist, right? And also when they beat Galactus, Silver Surfer, he said, "I'm free from my captivity," because part of it was mental control that Galactus had over Nornrad, which is the Silver Surfer. So once he was defeated, that mental kind of binding is gone now. And he says, "I'm free to basically surf the cosmos," right? He doesn't say it to the T, but basically that's what he's saying. And when we come to the conclusion of this book, basically the other Watchers are basically saying that there's more, right? Because this is all in preparation, right? This whole book, I think, is portrayed as a one shot, right? At least for this one, that there's more that's coming. And at the end of the book, by the Watchers, who have Uatu kind of pinned down, we see Nick Fury. Now remember, this is not the Nick Fury that we know from the MCU. This is the original Nick Fury, right? And he's saying it's my time, right? And we're not too sure what that really implies, or what does he mean by that, right? But we know something is coming. So it's pretty cool overall. This book was very nostalgic, right? It felt like I was reading an old school comic book, but at the same time, you could tell it was current because of the premise, right? This was 100% a what if book, right? What if the Watcher never intervened with the coming of Galactus? And one of the things that the Iwatu's dad says is that every time a Watcher intervenes, it has catastrophic conclusions, right? And this kind of proves his point, right? Now, it's not to say that the current timeline is bad, but could it have been better? At least for that segment of time, right? With the Fantastic Four and what they would have brought to the Earth. There's there's no telling what could have came after, but at least in that moment that they showed, the Earth got better. They defeated Galactus, right? So definitely go out and read this book. I categorize it as a what if book, right? Overall, it was phenomenal. It was great. It was a fun, quick read, and it reminded me of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, right? In terms of the drawing styles, right? A lot of homage was paid to it. So, with that being said, everyone, this is Zen from Zen Multiverse, saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you're enjoying the content, you already know what to do. Drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later for the next one. I'll catch you all also in the comment section. I know I said comments before, but yeah, drop that like and then hit me up in the comment section. I'm definitely going to reply to your thoughts and theories about what's coming next in the Reckoning War. Later, everyone.